Nicola. I was a SWAP student for Access to Medicine back in 2016, 2017, and I am now a one-year out graduate vet who went to Glasgow University to study vet medicine. When I found out I'd been selected for interview, it was one of the best days of my life. I know that sounds cheesy, but I'd been waiting for so long on the UCAS site, just refreshing it daily, because, you know, I'd been to interview. I wasn't quite sure how it had gone because it was a bit of a whirlwind. And when I got the pop-up, it said, you know, there has been a change on your UCAS, and it said basically, or I got in an email actually. On the email, it said I'd been selected for interview. I was so excited. I was really, really excited. I think I cried. I think actually any time I got anything that said I was accepted to anything through this process or passed an exam, I cried, because it's meant so much to me. And it's always been a lifelong dream of mine. I think the best way to be prepared for interviews is to practice as part of working with your peers. So when I was at SWAP, I had someone else who was doing the same interview as me, and we would often get together and do mock interviews and go over our questions that we believe would come up. I think as well, you have to, with these types of interviews, think about more, not just the academic side of things, it's also any skills that you have. So quite a lot of the questions that we had in the interviews was geared around communication. So that's quite a key skill. And if you've got good communication skills, how you've obviously experienced that and how you've come across and done well in that. Also, I think I also went onto some forums. I had a look to see what previous students had in their interviews to get an idea of what may come up. I also tried to keep myself up to date with kind of current affairs in vet medicine to find out what was going on in case that came up as a question. And also what I did is I tried to, you know, go over my personal statement that I had and pick out the areas of skills that I'd said that I'd had. And just made sure that, you know, I could discuss examples of such and, you know, articulate in a good way how I performed those. I definitely say reviewing your personal statement is really important. I mean, certainly in my interview, they went over it with me and they picked out pieces that I'd mentioned. So the worst thing would be to trip yourself up by mentioning some sort of skill or experience that you've said that you've had and then not been able to articulate it. And I think it's important that you can talk confidently around that skill, give examples, so then it demonstrates that actually you do have those skills that you have mentioned in that personal statement, so they can relate it to the course that you're applying for. I think if you lack experience in interviewing, it's trying to get as many mock interviews as possible. So whether or not that's through SWAP, I had one through SWAP. I found it really, really useful because then you get feedback and then you can work on that feedback and improve the areas that potentially you're a bit weaker on. Also, it was quite nice to work with people also on the course that were going through the same experience. They could also give me feedback that was tangible that I could then work on. And then working together as well, we could work around what we believed would be better ways of interviewing or answering questions. So I certainly for veterinary medicine, it was really important for me to go out into the field and experience that working environment. Not only does it give you a better insight of what you're actually applying for, which I guess if you're going to be doing a 5-year course at university, it's good to know what you're getting yourself into, but also it gave you an idea how your skills might fit in that environment and also helped with the interview. So certainly in my interview, there were some questions that came up around the experience that I'd said that I'd done. And with that, I was then able to answer some questions confidently, or if I didn't know the answer to them, I would say that I didn't know because I didn't see it at that experience, but then I would look into how I would look into that subject matter at a later date because I had an interest in it. I think with ethical issues, you have to look at it broadly. I certainly found that the questions we were given didn't have a right or wrong answer, but certainly I think the answer that you have to give has to be well-rounded. So rather than just saying, you know, I wouldn't do this or I would not do this, being able to articulate why, and then understanding the other viewpoint. And I think that really helped me being able to form a good answer that I could articulate well. And I guess in that sense, it made them see that I had thought about it and thought about it from loads of different angles.